Hey guys, Valerie Hunt, Ask Me Anything, Run RX. On Wednesdays, I go live and I answer your questions, anything to do with running. And this morning I've got questions about training, my training plan and my calf pain. So for a lot of you guys, running is back on, the races are back on. We just watched, so exciting, Chicago and Boston being back-to-back this weekend, and Run RX had, of course, runners in both. So the fun part with training about learning to run and using Run RX is most of us come in, or most of you guys come into Run RX usually with some kind of pain or injury. So the most of the reach outs I get are help, I'm hurting. And then my goal is let's get you out of that pain and back out on the run. So some of the marathons and some of the races have been delayed, so our training schedules have been a little bit off. So the first question came from someone that said, my marathon got pushed back, so I had to kind of alter my training plans, and now I've got a calf injury, what do I do? So first of all, I want to just say, don't panic. Most of us going through long distance training are going to experience, hopefully not, but you can experience some kind of setback. So the thing to do is, number one, as anybody would say, pull back on your mileage, pull back on your volume. And let's spend some time focusing on the running itself. And what I mean by that is, I'm gonna give you a stretch, right? Everybody wants a stretch. And by the way, to be fair, you need to stretch, and that's a fair thing. So I talk a lot about doing like mobility work, range of motion work, making sure my calves are free, my wrists are free, my shoulders are free. I want to feel that I have full range, hips, right? It's not about, for us as runners, like we don't need to be able to do the splits, right? It's not going to help me in my run. However, I want to know that I have some hip mobility and my hip can move all the way around the socket, so when I run, I know there's good movement and range of motion in my run. So we want to do things that make sense for running. So if I have, hey Jamie, so if I have someone that's got pain in their calf and in their run, while they're running, after they're running, whatever, any part of their running, first is they're gonna say, first thing people want is give me a calf stretch, which I understand, because we want that immediate relief, right? My calf is tight, so in my mind, I stretch it, and then hopefully when I go for my run, it won't get tight again. And so then my answer is, well, I'll give you a stretch, but also let's look at your run. I'm really big on the gait analysis, you guys know that. Let me see your run, let me see how you move. So, okay, you're like, well, I don't really want to show you. Okay, fine, we'll go that route. Let's talk about what does the calf do in running. So it's a really great conversation, first of all. So first of all, in running, when I'm on the ground, I want to be in my running pose. And a lot of people don't even know what their running pose looks like, because that's not what they focus on in their running, right? In their running, it's like how far I'm going, how fast I'm going, the weather, everything but really how I'm running. So my first question is always like, is your knee bent when it's on the ground? And the only way to practice for that, guys, is to practice what it's going to feel like when I'm on the ground. That's the only time I have any control in my run. When you're in the air, that's the fun part. That's when the body is just flying, right? For just a split second. For most of us, it's like 1/10 of a second. There's a phase in the running where we should be in flight. And we can't really feel that, but it's the fun part. What you're feeling is kind of the woo, the wind in your hair or whatever. But on the ground is when you work. So are you prepared to work is what my question always is. So is my knee bent on my standing leg so that when my leg comes down, my foot can drop and pull? See, that's what we want. We want that when the foot drops, our job is to pull the foot up. That's our job. Gravity brings it down. So we have to be ready to work, meaning as soon as gravity brings that foot down, I gotta be ready to pick it up. And that timing, that being ready, that on time part, that's running. And so then it's fun, because if I wanna run faster, then I have to be what? Even more prepared, because if I want to run faster, then my body's going to be going this way, right, falling, and my foot, I'm just doing one foot to be silly, but my foot has to be ready, there's both feet, to pull. If I'm going for a longer run, tempo run, maybe I don't care about running fast, I just want to be out for a run, I still have to be on time, it's just not quite as frantic. both of them though, whether I'm running fast, slow, whatever the pace is, what's really fun is I'm using what's called muscle elasticity, of course gravity, and most of all, I'm not using muscle action, I'm using muscle response. So that's a bit of a difference, and that the muscle we're actually using is this guy, it's the hamstring. So do my calves work in running? You bet. All muscles work, all 600. Every muscle you have works when you're running. The difference is, am I asking the calf to do more work than it needs to? No. And am I asking the calf to contract? No. Those are really important, because if your calf is hurting while you run, then you're asking your calf to do extra work, and it's saying to you, I don't want to. So for most of us in running, it's very common, but we have this sensation that we want to push. And what that means is most of you guys, when you feel that your foot's on the ground, it feels very powerful, by the way, to be able to take your foot and go push. Okay? And I'm being, of course, I like to exaggerate, but that's the sensation. So when you're running, it feels, like I said, it feels really powerful. It feels really like I'm in charge, and I'm running, right? It's a very much control too. So then, but the problem is when I'm pushing, where does my leg go? Back there, and my body's going that way. So then the problem is the calf is going, whoa. You see, the calf goes, contract, release, contract, release. That's why the calf is sore. It's like, I can't keep contracting. You have to give me a release. Does that make sense? Versus when you're running and you do nothing but pull, meaning my knee stays bent, because in pushing, what also happens, right? The knee actually will extend, because when you push, the knee goes back and takes the leg back. So when I pull, the foot pulls up and travels with the hip, with the body. So then the calf isn't really doing much. What happens with the calf is when your foot drops, again, you do nothing, the calf does respond, but you see there wasn't any effort in it. So it did its job, but no more than that. And then it got to relax. As soon as the calf was done, it was done. The hamstring had to work more than the calf. But you see, I'm not controlling it, I'm allowing it to happen. Whew, that's a lot. So let's pull back for a second and start here. In order for me to be able to pull my foot from the ground in my run, I need two things. One, my knee to be bent. Okay, so I can just practice that right here. And I do need to have some range of motion in my ankle, you see, so that my ankle can do this. And my calf needs to be relaxed, and then my soleus, range of motion. So let's just do a range of motion exercise. Okay, so we're gonna get into a kneeling lunge. By the way, so range of motion, like in flight, if I could look like this, that'd be amazing, right? Like you see the sprinters, like the big, open stuff. So this is opening, right? And then also, if I bring my foot back to me, you see, then I can get a little more stretch right here. And the fun part is I'm also teaching myself that my ankle being behind my knee is ideal for running. So then I can just hang out and do some stretching. And really, I think of stretching more as relaxing. Letting the muscle relax. And I'm letting the muscle relax in a place where I want it to be, right? So again, this is for the hip, but if I want to really get this part, I just bring my foot closer, and then I press forward, and then you see all I'm feeling right now is some opening right here, and then a little bit in my hip, right? And then I'm just holding my shoulders over my hips. So a lot of times I'll do this stretch with a wall in front of me so I can relax even more. But ideally, you see, I'm just opening the hip, letting the hip stay open, and then again, getting some range of motion here. So it's a nice opener. And then I can do things like this. You see, right here, I'm curling my toes under and then sitting back. So this helps to open the plantar, which is also really, really important and part of that calf, because it's all one unit. Like our bodies are all one unit, right? So this is also really a good one. And then another one I like to do a lot is this. It's kind of a fake downward dog. So I go to where my feet can touch, see? It's okay if your knees are bent. And then from here, You see, you're just gonna walk your feet to meet your hands or as close as you can. And then just hang out. And then you can bring it back. So you see I'm just taking my feet back and taking them up. Just real simple, like 3 simple exercises. So I can do hip openers, I can do calf stretches, right? And then, yeah. Okay, great. All right, so, but you see, really simple. Let me just say this real quick. That was a great conversation. So, in my 30-day free RunRx reboot on YouTube, sounds long, you will get all of those exercises. And I did a thing, it's 30 days, you guys, RunRx, we got together, we put together like frequently asked questions, we've got pose walking, we've got how to run on a treadmill. If you go to our YouTube channel, it's really, there's so much good stuff. And we take you through a 30-day reboot where it's skill, strength, self-care. Skill, strength, self-care to get you really more comfortable with some of the combining it together, right? Because if I just stretch my calves, which I just stretch, they feel really good. When I go running, how does that help me run? First, I had to kind of know what does the calf do, right? So then I go through, okay, now I've got my calf stretch. I kind of understand that my calf is really not that involved. However, I want my calves to be ready to work, so I put calf work in my work. So just real quick, we'll do this all together. Everybody bend the knees. We just did a nice calf stretch. And I want you to just hop. And when I'm doing this hop, the knee stays bent. So there's no push, there's no jump, there's no extension. So I'm teaching myself, when you run, this knee bend holds. It's a very low, light pull from the ground. See, it's very relaxed. My arms are relaxed, my shoulders are relaxed. And then from here, start pulling. Up, 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 up. Right? So then I just took myself through, hey calves, here is what you're about to get ready to do. And the elasticity, your calves already have elasticity. We're just developing their ability to respond to using them. Because if I push all the time, so if I did this, oh my gosh. You understand what just happened? I extended my knees. I did a lot of impact because I jumped up and then I had a hard landing. Instead of staying nice and bent, I'm just barely working. Same thing when I run. You see, so it's a communication. And then how do I travel forward? You guys know, right? Free fall, gravity, communication, really. It just goes back to communication. All of us fall, but do we use it to accelerate? Not all of us do. So if I'm here and I'm just pulling, I'd get really tired if I just stood here. But if I let my body go, see you later. And then once I fall, I only have 2% of my body weight on my feet. So then instead of using this heavy calf muscle, but instead of trying to get this calf muscle to push me forward with so much effort, I just fall forward. And you see, that elasticity just is allowed to do its job. So that's really the fun part of running, guys. But you do have to go through that skill, strength, and self-care to get there. All right, so if your calves are hurting, here's another really good thing you can do. Go online for free, runrx.fit, and we have a quiz. And if you have some kind of twinge, shin, calf, hip, wherever it is, it'll ask you, and then I give you a skill, strength, and self-care tip for your run. So it's kind of a fun way to be like, okay, I'm gonna give myself, I'm gonna do the stretching, but I'm also gonna do a strength exercise, which is very simple. The stuff I give you is not, we're not bodybuilding, we're just doing strength for the foot and the hip, right, to get you ready to run. And then of course the skill. All right, somebody asked me a great question. They said they saw a woman running 13-minute miles, but she's in her 80s. And she, congrats to her. And then she said, the question was, what advice would you give someone that's older? Because she said, you've mentioned before that if you're running really slow, you're spending a lot of time on the ground. So we're gonna exempt her. So here's the challenge, right? She's probably, to be fair, doing a mix of walking and running. So a lot of times, guys, when someone's like, and I've been very fortunate in my life to work with seniors. Now I am one, but before I just worked with them. And I had a guy, he's still alive. He's 96 right now. He started with me when he was 85. And he wanted to break a 10-minute mile, okay? And he's 85. And he did it. He did an 8:47. And how did he do that? Well, he came to the track with me on Monday nights, and I basically showed him how to run, how to get his body weight to go forward, how to pull his feet. You don't lose your muscle elasticity just because you get older. You lose your ability to use it. This is the difference. It's not like fast twitch and slow twitch muscles, which you already know if you have. You're a sprinter, you're a distance runner, you know. Right? And that doesn't mean you shouldn't do both. It just means you already know from very early age if you're a sprinter or an endurance athlete. That's a very different thing than using muscle elasticity. Muscle elasticity we all have, and we all have the potential to use. We just have to develop it. It's use it or lose it. If I never do any drills where I'm actually using elasticity, then how do I expect it to continue working for me? You know? And it's important because we don't realize that. We don't talk about it. And people that run, right, they're thinking, I'm running, I'm running, I'm running. It's so good for me. And I'm like, however, if you're running and you're not using muscle elasticity, you're just using a lot of muscle contraction, then it really is wear and tear. If you're running by holding yourself in a good place, you're falling, using that elasticity, you're just gonna find, especially the more you have that relationship with gravity, that you probably are missing out on some of the potential you had. So just to be fair though, my 85-year-old, even though he ran that really fast mile, he had no interest at all in running that kind of pace for like a 5 or a 10K, because honestly, one, he didn't want to, but probably potentially couldn't. He still ran half marathons though, just so you know, but in a walk-run mix. So I taught him how to pose walk as well as pose run. So that way when he was walking, he was still holding great alignment and he was still pulling. He was still doing a great movement using his hamstring, staying connected with his feet. So whether he was walking or running, still using the same good technique. And that's what I guarantee you. I'm not seeing this lady run, but if someone is in their 80s and they're out running a marathon distance or half marathon or these kinds of distances, I promise if I watch them move, they're probably very efficient. She's probably pulling her feet quick. You know, there's just a lot of things that you see in the people that go out for these distances, especially if it's an older athlete, a more mature athlete. And you will find that they have really done a great job of self-communication and adaptation to their environment. You ever see women walking and they're way older than you, and you're like, how are they moving like that? It's because they have a communication with their feet, right? She probably still knows how to pick up her feet. It's a big bummer, but as people get older, they lose their feet. They lose their ability to feel and use their feet. They start using their hips. So anyway, sorry I derailed, but my whole point was, it's not about the speed of your run, it's about the movement, you know? But if you came to me as you wanted me to coach you, and you know, if you were 80, I'd be fine with that, and we would look at realistically what you could do for a distance. But just so you know, when Joe came to me at 85, and he's like, I want to run a sub 10-minute mile, I was like, let's do it. Why not? He had that want to. Just like she wants to go out and do 13:1 at age 80, that's amazing to me. And I guarantee she's probably doing a bit of both, walking and running combination, which is fine. You know, that's a great way. I've been having pain on the outside of my knee. I'm not sure if I'm locking my knee. So usually outside of the knee. So if you're having pain here, then usually, unfortunately, it's because your leg, it may not be pushing, you may be reaching. So if my foot's coming out here. So a great thing to do, I'm gonna give you here. This will be good. This is what I'll finish with. It's just like if you got on to take my quiz, okay? So he's like, I don't know, okay, my knee hurts on the outside. This is what you would say to me. My knee hurts on the outside. So I immediately would say, okay, let's do 3 things. Let's do a skill, let's do a strength, and let's do a self-care. That'll be great. So we'll do skill first. So the first skill we're gonna do is we're gonna bend our knees and we're gonna look down and check, is my knee bent? Then I'm gonna do 5 pulls. And when I pull, I'm gonna check, is my ankle under my hip? Am I careful not to use my hip and only use my hamstring? So I'm gonna focus on my pull. And then am I leaving my knee bent all the time? You see, it's when I put my foot back, my knee, it still looks the exact same. So I'm telling myself when I run, I'm only gonna pull my foot up. There's actually no movement here, and my knee stays bent. So that's our skill exercise. Okay, then we're gonna do a strength. So the strength is gonna be, we're gonna stand on one foot, because this is strength and balance. Okay, we're gonna stand, we're gonna make sure our knee is bent, and we're gonna shrug from our shoulders, and we're gonna pull our foot up. 3, 2, 1, pull. And you're gonna check, am I in pose? How do I know? First, check, is my knee bent? Is my body weight on the ball of my foot? See, that's number 1, because this is the connection to the ground. All of the work in your run is from below the knee. So check, is my knee bent? Is my body weight on the ball of my foot? Am I holding ears, shoulders, hips in line? Check. Ready? Let's do it again. Shrug, big pull, up, and then get back in your feet. Check your knee is bent. All right, let's try it again. Pull. You see? Now pull. Now pull. Now pull quicker. Up, 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 up. And I cannot do that unless my knee is bent. So I just took you through a skill and then a strength, because single leg pulls are hard. It's strength, it's balance, it's coordination, it's really good. All right, last thing is we'll do a self-care. So the hip is tight. I'm gonna give you a stretch for the hip. This is one you can actually do if you're out running, guys. And it's, I'm gonna turn this way. You're going to take your leg and cross it over. So this is my right leg. So my right arm goes this way. I'm gonna rotate to my right side and touch down. So you should feel the stretch all along the outer hip, and then you'll come up nice and easy, recross, uncross, and take it over to that other side. If this is challenging for you, like you cannot touch when you do this, then you could get something like a chair and put it right here, you know, or a ball or something, but you really want to work to getting to where that's not a problem. So that's a good standing stretch. And I would do my ankles. But see, I just gave you a skill, a strength, and a self-care. There's 3 things you can do. And then when you go back out running, you've got it to do, right? If I'm out running and my hip hurts, or now you know my calf hurts, you see how the answer was the same for both, guys, right? What was it? Make sure those knees are bent. Make sure you're pulling underneath you. Up, 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 up. You can pull in place for a second and check in even. And then, okay, I'm here, I'm good. Relax, fall. Remember, I've got to fall. If I want to be moving that way, I would need to make sure I'm also doing that free fall aspect. So, okay, great question. Do we need to keep our glutes and core engaged while running? Absolutely not. This is important. Now remember this. Are they working while you run? Yes. Are you the one contracting them? No. It took me a long time to understand that. And I wanted so badly to control all my movements. So I was right there like, you know, but please don't do that. Here's the challenge. If you're trying to squeeze your glutes and pull your stomach in while you're running, you're not running. Because running by definition is free falling. In order to free fall, I have to let go. I have to let go of control. I have to let gravity take me. So what's important, and this is, I'll finish with it, just like I did just now with the hip or the calf. If I'm standing here in my running pose, right, while I stand here, you can do things like check. Can you squeeze this glute? Squeeze it. See, I'm on the ground, I'm not moving. Check, squeeze, release, squeeze, release, squeeze, release. But could you really, it's 1,500 steps per mile. Could I really squeeze my glute that quick for 1,500 times? No. You see what I mean? Doesn't make any sense. Can I hold my stomach in for 1,500 steps or a full marathon? No way. How could I get full breath in if I'm holding my stomach in? You see what I mean? So no, I'm not. I'm relaxed, I'm loose. However, we do strength exercises, especially hip and glute, like glute bridges, all that stuff, so that when I am here, my glutes are what? They're working. But I cannot contract them on my own. I have to trust that they're working. By the way, same thing with falling. When you practice falling, this here, the amount of strength needed here is a lot, very much. However, it's called an involuntary muscle contraction, which means that as I fall forward, this whole part of my body is contraction. But it's just happening. I'm not the one doing that. So you have to do the strength exercises outside of the run to be able to be confident in your run that you can hold your pose. You need to be relaxed. You need to be able to breathe, and you need to be able to pull your foot on time, which is already a lot to do. So I'm telling you, have some fun. Go through the reboot, guys. And it's like I said, it just gets you in a good rhythm of skill, strength, self-care, skill, strength, self-care. It's all important. And they're short, like everything's like 2 to 4 minutes tops. Like it's just short, it's something you can add in. It's a way to get back into running. It answers a lot of these questions as well. And then you can ask me questions, even on the, I get a lot of questions through the YouTube videos. You can reach out on here and ask questions. You can go through the, you can comment on Instagram, send us an email on the website. We get a lot of the questions through there. But communicate with me, it's a lot of fun. I love to talk about it. And like I said, I'd love to see you guys take the quiz, come through the reboot. Of course, I'd love to see you run. That's the best. So have a great day, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.